Brought to you direct from Studio 3B at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, the American Hardwood Advisor is your source for trends, tips, and insights into how the building industry has evolved. Join me, Steve Stack, along with guest builders and industry leaders as we talk shop and go in depth on what it takes to be the best of the best. Dive into topics like architecture, industry trends, project plans, historical tools, tricks of the trade, and life's lessons from more than 6 decades of experience in the hardwood lumber business. Hey folks, welcome back. Steve Stack back here at Studio 3B and joined this afternoon with my buddy Chris Filardi.
Glad to be here again.
Oh yeah. Chris, Come On Media, partners with Hal Schaefer, Renovation Hunters, presented on the Outdoor Channel. Wow. We had a run, and we hit the ground in Hiwassee, Virginia, down at the Blue Spring Farms property, and it seemed like we no sooner got home, and it was roll call again. And
off to Michigan.
We traveled to Baldwin, Michigan, kind of the northwest quadrant of Michigan before you get up into the UP, but I had never been up there. I had never been up that far, and probably 45 minutes east of Lake Michigan. And what a piece of property you guys found on Bush Lake.
Bush Lake, beautiful sunsets every day.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was, you start getting up like that, and Michigan has so many interior lakes, and folks, if you haven't been up that way, don't think twice about going vacationing up there.
And if you happen to be building something where you only have 8 days, it doesn't get dark till 10 o'clock at night, so that really helped a lot.
Oh. Hey, we've been on some projects. We've encountered some hurdles. This was, if I'm not mistaken, the smallest footprint
smallest
of a cabin.
I think it was 500 square feet.
Yeah. But day one into it, Kevin Tarkovich shifted gears, and he said he was about one more thing going wrong from demoing it right down to the foundation. Completely.
That's another thing you learn in year 2 is you start to learn how people think of stuff. So he, in his mind, he was like, 500 square feet. We could have some problems. We're going to get this right. And then after the second day, he's like, oh, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we got to fix.
We literally took it down to a skeleton. To one point where I said, hey, Kev, buddy, I said, we got a couple people working under here. Could we maybe throw some cross bracing up just to hold these walls?
Just to make sure.
and you know, it turned out we ended up tearing the whole lakeside wall out of that house.
Had to.
It was gone. There was some disrepair, and that wasn't in the plan, but it had to be done. It had to be done, and I'm like, holy cow.
You know, in year 2, you learn that stuff happens, right? Like, I say the other way, but stuff happens, and you can have all the plans you want, but when you have that few days to do it, and you have to take out the back wall of the house, and you weren't planning on doing it, you just lost a day and a half. So it's always a challenge to see how Kevin and Hal and the team, how they adapt to these changes, because honestly, you go in 80-20 rule. You got 80, you're good, because 20% or more always happens, and you just got to deal with it. You know?
I kind of knew we were in trouble after the first day a 20-yard dumpster was full.
Yeah, it was a half a day, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's okay, shift gears, have some conversation. Kevin goes back to his lodging and dives into his think tank and reworks his plan.
The plan.
You know, but it was unbelievable. The start of it was unbelievable. I don't want to remember the middle, and the ending of it was unbelievable. But what a great little project. The Lewis family.
Wonderful people.
Right? Let the folks know a little bit the storyline of Jason, the son, his fiance, and Jason's dad. It goes back to when Jason was a kid.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of it covered in the show, but let me give it to you this way. Here's a young man who he's got some back injuries and stuff that he's been going through, so it's really hard for him to fix anything or do anything. But he's been going to that camp for 15 years or whatever, his whole life with his dad, and his dad made a purpose to go to that camp, even when he was young and really didn't have a role there, you know. Yeah. But he, you know, now his most best moment is when he gets to camp and makes the fire, you know, and that comes out in the interview and the story and stuff. But they have bigger aspirations, you know. They don't just want to make it better for their family. They want to be able to bring kids from the inner city, from Chicago, from Detroit, that have never experienced the outdoors, ever, and bring them there so they can, you know, take a canoe on the lake or sit on the porch and watch the sunset. And those are the kind of things that are for us, we're always, we wanted to do, but we never knew if we could do. This family was so grateful. It was really just great to be a part of it.
The reveals have all been special. This one, when I was introduced to and shook the hand of Dad and Jason, and they can't hide the appreciation.
Yeah.
and you feel that from them. And that's where the reward comes in, right? If we go 1 for 3 in a season, we did our jobs.
Yeah, you know, I'm biased, but I think we won 3 for 3 this year. But I'll tell you, you know, the fun thing for me is obviously, so there's a couple things at play. Most people don't think about all the stuff you can do in 8 days, you know, with the right resource and the right people. And because of Baird Lumber, because of our sponsors, because of the network, we got a great team to be able to do a tremendous amount of work in 8 days. But mentally, you're not ready for it. Mentally, you're coming in, you're thinking, I got new siding or a new rug. That's going to be great. Maybe a new appliance. Like, it's all new. It's all done. So, you know, that reaction, what gets me is the initial reaction is always wonderful. But what I really secretly like to hear is 2 hours afterwards, 3 hours afterwards, we're not filming. Maybe someone's having a beer, we're hanging out, just getting to know them. And then you hear them freak out because they just noticed something that they didn't notice the second time they were in the room. You know, like, it's all those little elements that the team puts in that, to me, just makes the reveal such a fun part. I mean, it really is. Some of the things, I mean, Kevin, and it amazes me thinking back on it. We took a cabin that there was barely room for a sofa, let alone a bed. Mm-hmm. And the little bath there on the right when you walked in the door, and we put a barn door on that and eased egress and everything there, and then pulled off that little bedroom in the front left-hand corner, and then went back and did some bunks, which would be the small living dining quarters. And so we took something that maybe slept 2, and I think when we left, it was up to 5 or 6. Yeah,
you know, comfortably too.
Well, you know, the other thing, and God works in strange ways. Like, we were all so bummed, you know, not giving anything away, but we had one of the walls. You said it was a real problem. By taking that wall out, it made it even better. You know what I mean? Like, when you walked into the transformation of that room and how it integrated with the lake and the sun and the cloud, like, I don't know if we've had a better view of any of the properties that we did one single view than that.
Oh no, standing at that back slider and looking out across the beautiful project on the back of the house, on the lake side of the house, and then the day of the reveal, that's where the Lewis family got to meet the cast and crew, and it was perfect setting. But you know, we did some different products in there, a lot of dimensional stock for window trim and some ceiling materials, and some accent wall materials, and And so we use some of our poplar product, we use some of our pine products, and tongue and groove. Added some doors, just a few doors. There wasn't that many doors, and there was more exterior doors than there was interior
doors. Kind of got in the way,
right? But I remember walking in, and like 7 foot 6 inch ceiling heights, and then walking back through it after the reveal, and the entire house had vaulted ceiling front to back, half bath, bedroom, living quarters, kitchen, and it took 500 square feet and made it feel like 1,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. You know what's cool too is Jason's going to be able to do what he did with his dad, with kids from the city, and do it even, nothing against dad, but do it even better. He's got better facilities. He's got boats. He's got, you know what I mean? Like, these kids are going to, again, I keep saying this because I spend so much time outdoors. It's the first time, teenage kids that are going to be outside for the first time in an environment like that. How great is that?
That's so true. And just like here at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, I catch myself in feeling guilty that I walk through the trim warehouse every day of the week, and I don't think a thing of it, And then I'll bring a guest through, and we don't get 20 yards into the building, and they say, "Oh my God!"
I was just going to say, you're biased, because when I walked around, I'm like, "Oh, I wish I had that. Can Steve give me that? I want that. I want that." Like, there's so much beautiful stuff in this plant. It's amazing.
And I never would, but you find yourself questioning, am I taking this for granted? Mm-hmm. It's not taking it for granted. It's 47 years of my life that I've been exposed to it. Take that and put it in a 10-year-old's mind when he goes out into nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, things that you and I take for granted because we're from rural America, and a walk in the woods, And
it's cool, and I say this because I watch it all the time. Our crew, once they understand the story and the objective of what we're doing, they do everything they can to delight these people. Everything. I mean, it could be a picture on the wall. It could be like, they always wash their hands here, so they put stuff there. Like, we interview them enough to know what they really want. So not only are we hitting their basic needs of, beauty and countertops and all that, but we're meeting how they would use it and how they would benefit from using that property more than they ever would before,
And use it comfortably and with some remembrance. Every project, Renovation Hunters leaves behind a little something extra special. We've done some dining room tables. This project had a custom built set of bunk beds, and then there was a neat sign that one of the makers put together and hung outside the front door, and so just those little personal touches that they come up with, and it makes every project special, and there'll be neat little reminders to the family that, do you remember when Renovation Hunters came in and redid our cabin?
Mm-hmm. I remember two of the cast members debating. I won't say they were arguing. They were debating about the easiest way for younger kids to take the boats out from the deck area and stuff. And I just smiled to myself because I was like, man, these guys got it, because they're not talking about, the size and the structure and how to do it. They're talking about what's going to be easier so these kids will want to do it again. Yeah. And the way that they built it in it was for kayaks, but the way they built it in was just beautiful. And you know what? It's the easiest possible way a younger kid could enjoy the outdoors if they can get the stuff out and back and do it that way. It was wonderful. So those are the kind of extra steps that the crew goes into that I think makes the storyline even more animated to me,
And Renovation Hunters left a couple new kayaks behind.
Yep.
How great for a kid, throw a life vest on, jump in a kayak, and go on Bush Lake and explore.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And it's small enough, in that particular example, it's small enough that if it was a younger kid, you know, a young teenager, they could do it and you watch them. Like, they're not out of your sight for the whole lake, you know, which is kind of nice.
It's ever changing. The landscape is ever changing with the Renovation Hunters and the Renovation Hunters crew. We hooked up with, actually, he came on board in Hiwassee, now that I'm thinking about it, but he was in Baldwin also, Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he kind of just, like he was with us season one.
I don't, by the way, I don't know when this will air, but congratulations, Alex, and just had a baby, and everybody's good.
Exactly.
He was so excited about it.
He and his wife. And then we kind of had a surprise visit sprung on us. Miss Jessie Jess.
Yeah. Jessica, MMA fighter extraordinaire. Wonderful, wonderful person.
I can still see her kicking the dilapidated handrail down.
Well, so again, I always try not to give away anything for the audience. Sorry, guys, but like she was kicking down stuff on the deck and really enjoying it, you know. And then Mike from On the Spot comes up with his Metabo reciprocating saw and just started just wasting columns. She's like, for a second, you started thinking, well, it would be better to do the tool, and then she started kicking them again.
Yeah. So it's, and we've touched on a bunch of them, the special things. Anything specific that you came back to Pennsylvania with that you remember of a project?
Yeah. I mean, when you and I make our own podcast about food and cooking, I will tell you there are some unbelievable meat retail meat smoking environments up there that I've never seen, even in Western PA. And I really enjoyed the food that I brought home from there. So we'll get that off my chest. I would say the only other thing that to me that is unique to the storyline, you know, we always have a storyline about the location because it's in a national park or it's a hunting area or whatever. This one was very unique from the standpoint that there was a lot of cultural significance in the location we were at with Idlewild, I can't say it, Michigan, where back in the 40s and 50s in Detroit and Chicago, all the African American performers would go into town, they would perform, and rather than stay there in, you know, conditions that weren't really good for Afro-Americans at that point, they would actually go back to Idlewild, take the train, and they had almost like a free zone where race didn't matter. They played music, they went to the lake, they had fun. I had no idea of that at all. I mean, we're talking B.B. King and like major players went there and lived there. I had no idea that we would be even involved in that situation to understand that, and then to have that the museum and all that stuff to go look at. It was really, we're kind of in a cool place in history and didn't even know it. And I find that more and more that each location beyond the beauty and the nature part of it, the physical part of it, there's always stuff that if you dig around culturally you can find, you know?
A lot of great stories. And you still had that Midwest feel in the community. And that's another great aspect of being involved with Renovation Hunters and meeting these families and improving upon their cabin conditions and things. But the townspeople we get to interact with and quick story. One thing I take away. I don't remember whether it was Tuesday night or Wednesday night. We all gathered for dinner at one of the local establishments and the place just had that Michigan feel to it, a little bit of wilderness, but you know, had some taxidermy work spread out. Very nice.
Eating fried cheese stuff.
Okay, so there you go. So I'm sitting at our table, and the waitress she comes around and we ordered some appetizers, and she comes back around, and I, excuse me. I says, this just seems to me like a place that would have frog legs.
she says, well, I only work part-time now. She says, we used to have them on the menu. She said, let me go to the kitchen and check. She comes back out. She says, your frog legs will be up in about 6 minutes. I said, you're kidding.
Nice.
And I think there was 6 or 7 of us at the table, and some of them had never experienced frog legs. Right. So we got to share that with folks that they said, why did you order frog legs, Zach?
Because I can.
Yeah. No. And you know, it's just simple little experiences like that. And these towns that we follow Renovation Hunters to.
And I hope, by the way, my business side thinks this is a logical conclusion, but I hope the fans over time can see the relationships of the crew and how you know, they get tighter and funnier, and you know, the humor and the way that they all have grown to be friends is visible, because it's really special.
It is, and you know, we knocked out build 2, project 2 of season 2, and packed our bags, went back home, and then we really had a short turnaround. You, I, Kevin, and Hal, we joined forces and hooked up. Those guys flew in from North Carolina, and you drove down to Pittsburgh, got them, turned back around, and we met on the job site in Linesville.
On a side note, Linesville was 38 minutes from my house. I was so excited. I was finally close. I would do it in my backyard. I drove about 2,000 miles that week back and forth to look everybody up.
You know, so we came home after we did a home viewing, and I remember in all innocence, after we went through the process, and how telling the folks, yeah, this is going to happen. And they were thinking season 3 maybe. Yeah. And he dropped it on them. No, we're coming back in a few weeks.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, they were going on vacation. Remember?
Yeah.
Like, oh, so when we come back from vacation, we'll know, like, no, when you come back from vacation, could you leave a day earlier? Because we're going to start now.
So anyhow, folks, when we come back, we're going to continue talking about the Linesville project.
Yeah.
And the fantastic family that we met up there, and quite the renovation. So folks, stay tuned. We'll be back real soon talking about Renovation Hunters, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, and the Linesville project.
For all you folks listening, thanks for talking shop with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the American Hardwood Advisor series, give us a like and subscribe. For more tips, projects, and inspiration, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or at BairdBrothers.com. Until next time,